right, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody taking the time to be with us for this session. We are going to go into some detail as it relates to EverCommerce's journey from a data modernization effort. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm John Sedlinek with Fivetran. I'm the Vice President of Enterprise Sales. And with me is Kalpit Patel, Vice President of Data and Analytics with EverCommerce. So we're excited to be here. We've got a really great lineup of questions. We're going to go into some detail. But let me start, for some of you that aren't familiar with Fivetran as a company. We are a data ingestion, data movement company focused on automated, secure, and scalable data movement. You'll see here, we're about 1,500 employees around the world. And we focus on specifically operational data stores, SaaS applications. We also work around data tooling. So the portfolio that we use is broad, as you can see. Oh, sorry, I'm leaving you guys hanging with that. There you go. It's very broad as far as the portfolio. We have about 700 pre-built connectors that our customers leverage. Think about things like Salesforce and Zendesk, Workday, Google Ads, from key SaaS applications all the way through to large operational data stores like Oracle, SQL, Sybase, DB2, and the list goes on. We have about 7,000 customers that trust Fivetran's technology and Fivetran's teams throughout the world. And we have a global footprint, both in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. So you can see just a listing of some of the customers, in addition to EverCommerce, that have put their business and their data movement business in the hands of Fivetran. So I'm going to real quick talk about how do we do this, and then we'll jump into the conversation with Kalpit. So as you see here, as it relates to AWS, I'm going to try to get as specific as I can. When you look on the left-hand side of this slide, you'll see that begins to indicate the portfolio of source systems that we move, right? You can see everything from, again, operational data stores, SaaS applications, even digital tooling like GitHubs and so forth. The magic happens on the inside, right? Again, as I mentioned earlier, Fivetran has automated, scalable, and secure data pipelines. These are what we deploy for our customers to accelerate time to value, speed to value, reducing overhead, reducing cost. These are maintained by Fivetran, right? So these are automated pipelines. There's no more management. There's no more costs related to that. There's no more schema drifts. All of these things are automatically accommodated and engineered for as part of our platform. We will ingest and move that data into storage systems like S3, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the outputs, as you see on the far right-hand side, to speed through this, is supporting everything from real-time analytics, business operations, cloud migrations, and what everybody is excited about around AI and ML as well. So with that, I think what we'll do is we'll sit down, we'll have a chit-chat. Is that good for you? And we'll talk a little bit with Kapil about, why don't we start with you just introducing yourself and your role at EverCommerce.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kalpit Patel. I'm the VP of Enterprise Data at a company called EverCommerce. Not sure if you guys know about EverCommerce, but we are an interesting company. We are a leading service commerce platform that digital native. We provide SaaS solutions, right, to small business owners. We are in about 40 plus countries, about 700,000 customers, right? We really are very unique, right, in providing services to our customers. And our purpose is very simple: to empower and digitally make the service owners of this small company very savvy. They should not be worried about what they are have to deal with from a technology landscape. They just have to worry about running their businesses, and that's what we really strive on.
So Kapil, maybe we could start with sharing with everybody here about, with the uniqueness of 50 plus organizations, and all of them being kind of independently operated. What was the data infrastructure like as you approached this modernization effort? What was the original state?
So as like every other companies, right? When you go through buying portfolio of companies, you really have to deal with three different nuances, right? People, process, technology, everybody knows it, right? But when you look at the data infrastructure at scale, you think about silos of data, duplications of data, right? Really making sure the harmonization is done properly. But when I joined the organization about 18 months back, it really struck me when I did about 60 interviews in my first 3 months. I went on a listening tour that we are a very data hungry company. And in order to turn that vision from a data hungry to a data enterprise and a data led company, you really need to provide accessibility to data with the speed of light. And that's how we really started our journey on what I call is AKA data factory. We will talk more about what a data factory is.
So you had these many organizations, data hungry, but there was real no organization or plan, as if you will, around how to consolidate those from a silo perspective into something more centralized. Is that fair?
Yes. So again, for within EverCommerce, we don't say centralization. We really say we are an enablement center, because our goal is to really enable the businesses, right, and take them to the next level, whether it's in terms of technology. But we are not building just a data factory. We are enabling the future of what our customers want and needs from us with the speed of light.
Great segue. So as the business scaled, what were some of the biggest challenges as you kind of describe yourself getting involved and doing a lot of interviews and understanding the current state? But what were some of the biggest challenges that you encountered with that decentralized data? And then now here comes the plug for Fivetran. Talk a little bit about how the managed data lake service helped you accelerate that.
Perfect, right? So the three things that always comes to data infrastructure and building a intelligence layer is you first have to understand the business, right? Everybody wants to do digital transformation, right? But if you don't understand the business landscape, what the company is made up of, right? It's going to be a very challenging task. So for us, it's not about the issues on hand, it's about the opportunities that brings us. And the opportunities are endless, right? So having data in multiple layouts, multiple formats, because we bought portfolio of companies, it really is about having them all de-siloed. That's number one. Second is, how do you provide data accessibility, as we talked about, right? The third is, how do you really put governance on top of all of this? In the world of AI, right, everybody lacks two major scenarios, which is how do you bring data together and how do you create a data foundation with a quality and a governed infrastructure. Because once you have that, and that we are calling it as a data factory. That's our foundation. Our goal is to build a factory. That's number one phase. Second is lay the machineries in the factory. And then the third is build the factory and make it ready for rollout, right? So those are the three phases. With Fivetran, we have been working with Fivetran for almost about 8-10 years now. Last year, when I joined the organization, we took a very strategic approach with Fivetran. Rather than using Fivetran in individual companies, we actually molded ourselves to say, how can we use Fivetran to build the data factory, empower it? So we started using their product called Managed Data Lake, right? Our whole infrastructure and the platform that we are building is completely open data platform on Apache Iceberg, using and leveraging the technologies of Fivetran, but we are building it on the AWS S3 foundation. That's super rock solid, it's foundational in nature, and it provides the resiliency and the infrastructure that we need. And then with Fivetran, right, it was always a question about should we build it or should we buy it? As we are using Fivetran, we really decided to say, how can we provide acceleration, speed, and the momentum that the business has been hungry for since so many years, right? So we decided to use that approach, and then we started really integrating all of these disparate sources, leveraging Fivetran Managed Data Lake.
So you talked a bit about the technical implementations. Maybe talk a little bit about, now with the large portfolio of companies, how does that affect cross-brand visibility? How does that affect, again, going back to the managed data lake and the technology decisions, how does that affect cross-selling, upselling with utilizing that data? How has that affected the business?
So again, when you build a vision for data factory, right, today we are able to run the mission and the vision of EverCommerce. We are able to do the reporting, but it's not at the level that we want in terms of empowerment of our customers, right? So when we enable the data factory, now we are able to build once and consume many times. So when you talk about data assets, you are bringing in data assets, you are governing those data assets, you are providing quality on those data assets, right, in a one lens, rather than having 10, 20, 30 different systems that are disintegrated, right? So for perfect example is today, because of the data factory, we will now have a very focused view on how is the marketing working, right? What is our achievement scores, right? How is the funnel working? What is the lead generation, right? We can now start putting more lens around enterprise reporting. How can we have standardized data definitions? Everybody just focuses on the technology side of the house. For us, it was more around the change management, really making sure that the business has the buy-in. It's not about rolling out data factory. It's about solving the business problems that we see currently, but also build the data factory that is built for future, that is AI enabled, but it also has an AI migration lens coming from legacy as well, right? So more enterprise lens, build once, consume many times, and also provide self-service applicability, right, to our business users.
And then kind of now pivoting over to the Amazon, the S3 side, what was your decision process like to choose S3 from a storage perspective?
So in our current landscape, we have AWS, we have Azure, we have a lot of other cloud providers. But because we have been working with AWS for quite a while, we wanted a rock solid foundation layer, right? For us, everything has to be fundamentally in a shape that you are not just able to bring the data, but you are able to transform, you are able to mold it, and S3 provides us that, right? When you have about 100 different connectors that you are running on a minute, on a 10 minutes, on an hour scale, you really want that integration to be flawless. And S3 is probably one of the best engines that is out there. So if you couple that with Fivetran managed data lake, right, building medallion architectures on an open architecture using Apache Iceberg, now you are not just building for future, but you are building for use cases that might come when you are looking at the infrastructure from a scale.
You answered the follow-on question I was going to ask you just around how Fivetran helped accelerate that centralization, and you talked about the managed data lake service. Are there any other projects specific to, as we're talking about managed data lake service, we're talking about S3, any future projects that you can kind of describe to the audience, that you have in the roadmap as it relates to that?
So I think from a future project perspective, as I said, our goal first was to lay out the factory. Now that we are done with that goal, we are really empowering and enabling our infrastructure to be AI and ML ready. Right? What does that mean is, today, if we have to look at customer churn or customer retention, because the data was in so many different landscape, it was very hard to do that. Now that we are bringing the data in one place, we can really run sophisticated AI ML algorithms, right, across the portfolio of companies to see, for example, hey, if a culprit was buying product 1, 7, and 10, now we have full visibility into how can you do upsell, cross-sell, propensity, right, customer churn, retention, right? In terms of Fivetran helping us, we also are planning to leverage Fivetran ecosystems holistically. We are a big DBT shop right now with the integration of Fivetran and DBT. That is going to accelerate us in our journey in automating a lot of what I call a shift left technology, right? Shift left means you really want to govern the data, qualify the data as soon as you load them, and not bring them into your ecosystems all the way on the tail end. So we are a big fan of really doing quality in shift left when you bring it from the source systems, because bad data is DAP data, right? If you bring in bad data, you will have to really pay a lot of debt.
So you began to touch on a topic that I wanted to bring us back to, which is that 360-degree journey. So as some may know, Fivetran and DBT are in the process of becoming one company. So super exciting, and more of that is unfolding here as the weeks go on. But we've also gone through a process of acquiring a company called Census around reverse ETL. So when you think about that 360-degree journey, incorporating the Fivetrans, the DBTs, the Census, how does that play into the architecture that you've already developed up to this point?
So I think with EverCommerce, as I said, we are very unique. We are a very digitally savvy company, right? So we don't think technology first. We think about what is the business transformation that we want to lay out. So from a future perspective, we created something called DNA Flywheel, and the DNA Flywheel really understands who is the producer of the data, who is going to consume that data, what lens, and Fivetran, Sensors, DBT, right? There are a lot of other technologies, but for us, we don't go to the business and say, here are the technologies. We say we are building a factory, right, for future, that is the data factory, and the data factory is powered by an engine like Fivetran, like DBTs of the world, that is to really make the life easy for our engineers, right? And then we are putting an AI ML on top of it with API as a service, data monetization, which is our nirvana state, right, going forward to really see how can you enable the businesses at scale. So it's all about digitally savvy SaaS business units driving forward innovation.
Amazing. There's a lot there. You guys have deployed a lot. You've been with the company for not a long time, and what you've accomplished with your team in that short period of time is amazing. With partnering with the AWS team, with the Fivetran team, I know you have a whole series of other vendors that have been a part of that as well. We are going to, there's a lot that we talked about here, and we're going to make everybody available to stop by our booth. And I'll put it up here, booth 1660. Kapil will be there as well to answer any questions as it relates to the information that we've shared today, as it relates to Fivetran and what we're doing with EverCommerce and what we're doing with some of the other companies out there. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for letting us share our stories, right? And then thank you, Fivetran, right, for being a good success partners, right, along with AWS. I appreciate it.